This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Bone, but it's strong enough to break a heart. Mwanza, how would you interpret it?
I'll say that the tongue has no bone, but it's strong enough
to break a heart.
Yeah, like you should not underestimate, anything or any person. You couldn't know where their strength lies. So you should really be able to, take time before you underestimate them or underrate them. Because we have underrated many people, many things, many teams, even in the World Cup. But we have seen what they have done. Including Egypt, Morocco. Yeah, but they have really done a good thing, according to me.
Yeah. Angel, how would you interpret it?
Wow, I think it's a very powerful statement, and coming from a country like seen a lot of political struggle. Although when you say they were there was dictatorship then, that would have been, someone would argue that was Western media's propaganda and maybe justify why they had to take him out. When you want to kill a dog, you give it a bad name. So I think that's a bit of the history of Libya. And I think when they say that the tongue is powerful, I think it means that the words that we say and the things that we speak out of our mouth is something that speaks to the soul. It's the gateway to the soul, second from the eyes. When you look into someone's eyes, you can see their heart and their soul. Even when you tell a country that mpende msipende, mambo ni matatu, mambo itafanyika, ungoje ukue president ndio ufanye vile. Those are words that we heard from our regime, and they hurt us badly. As a generation, we have seen a regime that has spoken very strong words, very bad words, very nasty words, even to a nation that is in crisis. And that is why we are here today. We are here today as a nation because of words that have been spoken before. And the power of the tongue is immense. It has shaped our today in Kenya. Yeah.
Well interpreted. Let's get into it.
Indeed. So our conversations today, of course, Ol-Kalou decided yesterday, and by the time the IEBC made the announcement, it was clear what the situation was going to be. Prior to this by-election that took place yesterday, the thought around town, or the chatter about the street, was that this by-election was a litmus test into 2027. Now, based on that, let's start off the conversation. Once, do you agree?
No, I don't agree.
Okay.
I don't agree that it was a litmus test. And to who specifically, when you say it was a litmus test? I mean, that is the word around. But my question is to who? Because now it's like putting words on our mouth as a government. As a UDA Gen Z party, I don't remember anywhere my party leader stood and said that this was a litmus paper to us. For us, we went to that election as any other participating, political party. And the outcome is out, and we are happy for that. For the first time, you realize that as a political party, we are embracing, democracy, sober and maturity.
For the first time?
For the first time in this country. In this country. Many a times, including the one who won yesterday, the party leader, I'm very sure yesterday he had, actually you saw by the presser at 3 p.m., he had started crying, saying the IBC this, the government this, what and this and all that. But again, for us as a political party, specifically UDA, you saw that by around 8 p.m., we had already given out our statement or our stand. We considered defeat, and that's what we expect from other political parties. So what we are doing as UDA, we are showing other small parties how politics should be done. When you go to an election, there are always two outcomes. Either you win or you lose. If you win, you celebrate like our people are doing. And we are used to that as UDA. But yesterday we didn't lose. Sometimes we win by losing. And that one we will also talk about that as we continue in the show.
Angel, one would say, you win, you lose. There's no thin line in between. But when we look at the conversation now ongoing, when you talk about litmus test, it is whether IEBC is able to deliver a fair, credible, and verifiable election. It is whether conversations and agenda that individuals have out here would be able to convince wananchi. And if you look at the process towards the by-election that was held yesterday, one asked the question, has it set precedent? Because it is not just about the event that took place yesterday, it's about the process. What does that tell us as we proceed to next year's general election?
I think that yesterday was a very, very powerful moment for our nation. I am feeling so privileged to be alive today. I was not alive yet in 1995. Maybe a few months later, I was born to see Joe Maina of Kipipiri, kuonesha Moi Pilipili. But today I am so excited to see what transpired yesterday. And I want to first thank the people of Ol-Kalou for standing with the nation. And I say this when I am in the home of the boldest newspaper. There's a time that the front page was asking, who is listening? And I think that the people are listening. We are not alone in this quest. And I want to encourage the youth of Kenya that the politics of handouts is over. Let us come out in bigger, much more bigger numbers to contest and run for these positions. It speaks a lot and showing that if you have a budget to give people handouts, please invest that money elsewhere. Build apartments, because you are not going to be able to turn around the voter if you are not aligned with the voter, if you do not speak the manifesto of the voter, if you do not speak to the economic issues that the nation is facing, you will stand absolutely no chance. And I think this is a great turning point for this nation. And when we come here and talk about how are the youth going to engage in politics, it's too expensive. Are we going to have money to give handouts? We don't have that money for sure. But now this speaks very boldly and loudly to the youth of Kenya that you can get into this contest and still be able to emerge a winner. I think in yesterday's contest, I mean, it was beyond, the message was clear from the people of Kalau. They wanted to send a message. And even when we talk about the IEBC, it is going to deliver credible elections, not because they want to or because they desire to, but because they have to and make them be able to do that. Because the coordinated approach that was there in Ol-Kalou really showed that rigging elections is not easy in this country, and it has never been. And even thanks to Raila Amolo Odinga, the former prime minister, who went to court many times and ensured that the law was very clear, saying that the election, the results are declared at the polling station. These are very landmark rulings that we've had in our nation, especially in our democracy. And they go on to speak to us, those who doubted and said that William Ruto is going to rig the election in 2027, can now place their doubts aside and believe more in this nation. When we talk about that, the youth of Kenya are there and they're saying that it's going to be one term. It is going to be one term, definitely. And the mountain has spoken, and more importantly, the people of Kenya has spoken. It was a message they were sending very clear. And as much as all political parties fielded candidates, including Jubilee Party, because of the freedom of democracy that we need to exercise in this nation of political parties, the people of Kalau had indeed made up their mind, and we cannot take that away from them. I want to appreciate them. I want to tell them thank you for standing with the country of Kenya and showing that it indeed can be done. And as we are moving on as a nation, from any Kenyan seated across the nation, here and abroad, I think it's a very, very, I'm feeling so emotional about yesterday, because if it would have been otherwise, hii ndio inaitwa kukula fair and you don't show up. That was beautiful yesterday. I cannot thank the people of Ol-Kalou. Asanteni sana, and the leadership there.
Oh. You know, today is one of those days where we are trying to come to terms with what has happened, because a lot of conversation has happened around this by-election. People are chest thumping, saying, this is my region, you will see. Others were saying, we'll meet on the ground, I'm the deputy president, I'll show you dust. So all the camps were trying to employ their various campaign mechanisms to try and woo the voter. But what do you think largely influenced yesterday's outcome? Because we saw the UDA fraternity invest heavily. Figures keep staggering, but if you are to work with around 500 million, and given the numbers they got, around 5,000, that would mean a vote was going for 100,000. But they did not get to win. You know, it's a dismal performance. Losing by about 83%, that is, quite a dismal performance. The same goes for Jubilee. You would say we had around 144 polling centers. Yeah.
your candidate garnered around 198
yes.
votes. So it asks, like, when you look at all that investment, but what would you say largely influenced the outcome?
In my political science class, my good lecturer, current MP for Elgeyo, Mr. Kimayo, my good friend, always could remind us that sometimes we win by losing. According to you, or according to many people, the eyes of, if you look at it barely, you could just see because they just wanted to win and become the MP and all that. But for us, as UD, I could tell you that we won that election by losing.
How? Could you expound on that?
Yeah. Oh, good. This is what I mean. Look at the previous by-elections. As Kenya Kwanza, or as broad-based, we have been winning almost 7 out of 8 by-elections. We have the results.
Right.
So that's why I disputed the statement that this election was not a litmus or whatever, to test. Or all that. Because we have been having by-elections. And these by-elections, 80% as Kenya Kwanza or broad-based, we won that. So if at all the by-elections were litmus test, then we are headed the right way. Then, if we are using the by-elections to test the waters, whether people are supporting the government or 2-term or 1-term, then I could boldly and say that the people are supporting 2-term. Because this is the first time DCP, I think the first, apart from some MCA seat they got somewhere, this is the second time that they are winning that. So this is how we won by losing. If we could have won yesterday, you can confirm with me that we could have dismantled the opposition. Totally. They will not have any say. What will they say? I mean, they have tried, they have been losing. But again, they have won. Now, at least we have elevated them.
So how is
not
it
to
a win?
our class?
How is it a win for you?
At least now we can talk when it comes to opposition. We can say now we can compete with them. Because we cannot just be competing with the losers. If they can lose in MCA, in MP, in senator, now how can they compete in presidential election? Now at least they have won for the MP one. And now it's 1-1 from Mbeere North in Mount Kenya now, when we limit it to Mount Kenya. We won in Mbeere North. At least they have won in Ol-Kalou. Now we are
that's what you classify to be
as
a win.
For us, it's a win.
But then back to the question, what do you think largely influenced yesterday's outcome?
From history, of course, we always go back to history for us to tell the future or the current and all that. We cannot assume history. My good friend here and my leader in coming Kiambu's finest women rep has reminded us what happened in 1995 in Kipipiri. I mean, this is a background for the one-term people, the opposition. So we could not underestimate them, just like we had that wisdom from Libya. We could not underestimate them. So what really mattered there, I could say that these people, they knew what they wanted already. So even if we could do whatever we could do, they could still vote for the person they want. And that's what we are encouraging as a government or as a patriotic citizen. As we go to the election in 2027, we know who we are going to vote. We will not be influenced, whether by money, incentives, or anything.
Once one asks the question, then you just stated something that I think has stuck with me, that the people of Ol-Kalou knew exactly what they wanted. Does that then mean that the winner had a better agenda than you did?
Yeah, absolutely. Not we did. The election was for the two MPs, for the MPs,
I'm asking about DCP party.
Yeah, the DCP party, he could be having a better agenda. That's why people believed in him. That's why people chose him. And that's why even as we head to this election, the best leader with the best agenda, the manifesto that, relates very well with the Mwananchi, he will be chosen. Yeah.
So is it fair to classify that the people of Ol-Kalou rejected the UDA agenda because your candidate is from the UDA party and the agenda he was advancing is domiciled on the UDA manifesto? Is it fair to say that is what the people rejected?
Good. If you talk about Ol-Kalou, that one I agree. Okay. But we cannot use Ol-Kalou to explain or to talk about the whole country.
Well, if we can't use Ol-Kalou, then we cannot even use the other by-elections that you have won to explain the whole country.
Exactly.
But, so if they rejected, it's fair enough. Angel,
yes.
What do you think highly influenced yesterday's outcome? What are we to read from all this?
I think, first of all, Omwansa is very brave. I hope the UDA government can give him a job, because showing up after such a serious defeat is very bold of him, because I've seen other morning shows, the people featuring UDA are not showing up because of what transpired. So he's very bold for that matter. And I think that where we are headed moving forward is something that really calls for us to have action, because even when you talk about Jubilee Party, as you've mentioned, it even goes to us to show us as a leadership of Jubilee. We need to go back to the drawing board. We need to ensure now that we get into the critical conversation of who is our presidential candidate as a coalition. As we are still in the Azimio coalition, and re-strategize definitely, because even for my presidential candidate, who is Dr. Fred Matiang'i, I think we are all watching and seeing what the nation is getting towards to, and we keep having this conversation of what is the agenda of the one-term movement. I think now it's time we go to the policy boardrooms, come up with definitive manifestos, because Ol-Kalou yesterday was won on the basis of telling this government, you cannot kill young people and get away with it. You cannot be as corrupt as you are and get away with it. You cannot gag the media and get away with it. I think that was a message that they were sending. But I think for the game plan of 2027, which is about 12 months away from now, I think it will require a much bigger agenda. The Kenyan voter wants to know and hear what exactly will be the agenda of national security, of education, of healthcare. I think the point has been made that William Ruto is going home. And even him, as he sits back, he's now looking at himself and around himself. Kama kuna mtu hajapigwa kofi pale State House, I'd be surprised. But then he's looking at himself and wondering, is this deputy president really helping me here? We didn't see him feature quite significantly in that campaign for Ol-Kalou. He'll look at his cabinet, even the Mount Kenya, because he's been very ruthless with his approach. Anti-stock unit was poured down in Ol-Kalou, and that shows exactly the kind of war chest that he had put up for himself. And we even saw that war chest coming to life in the national budget, that when Uhuru Kenyatta left it in 2021, 2022 was about 200 billion, and William Ruto has set it at 590 billion, showing that he's going military in case he runs out of options. And he did exactly that yesterday. He let out every card that he had in his pocket. And so going about what he has to do now, he even has a much bigger job of going back to think about even these Mount Kenya seats that he's dishing out in cabinet to try and ensure that he has the region in his pocket. That is something that he has to go back and think about. I think that he has truly been whitewashed. I hate to be William Ruto today, but the English say, as you make your bed, so you must lie on it.
Omwansa, do you think that moving forward, because obviously, anybody who is going to re-strategize or look at how then you're going to go into the year 2027 must then look at the mistakes that you made in the past, if there were mistakes made, or, do a bit of a turnaround if you're going to remain part of a competition. Sports teams do it all the same. I'm sure right now, Argentina is watching all the matches that Spain played, and Spain is watching all the matches that Argentina played, and to see what they will do on Sunday. You get what I'm going? Do you think that then using the money to grab the hearts of people will be a strategy that will be used in the future again?
Not at all.
Okay. It won't be used?
Not at all. Even if it will be used, people are woke. And I'm happy. My good friend has said that I'm brave enough. I am a lifetime member of the ruling party. As the Gen Z party UDA leader. Money will be used. People will dish out money. Politicians, aspirants. But again, the people are woke and they know what they want. That's what I'm saying. Even if today I'll walk in a room and I find my good people of Jubilee dishing out money, I will collect. I will pick it. But I know who my presidential aspirant is. I know who my MCA is. The person that really, who cares. The person who has proved beyond reasonable doubt that is going to work for us. And that is what happened. So, yes, again, I will also agree that the Ol-Kalou election, I really like that. I liked what happened yesterday.
You like that you lost?
that's why we are learning. That's why we are learning from that. I mean, a wise person, my grandmother always reminds me to learn from our mistakes. I mean, it's only through mistakes, even the constitution that we have today, the country we have today, is through our past mistakes that we've been making as a country. That's why you see here we have a challenge. Now let's fix here. Here we did, let's do this. So as we go on to the next election, to 2027, Mwananchi will be able to know. You know, when you come to vie, you are not a new person in that area. We already know you. We know what you have been doing before. The same way, we already know my dad. We know what he has done, even as our presidential candidate. We know his manifesto. We know how he's delivering the plan.
Your father is running for president?
My dad, William Ruto. It's figurative.
Oh, it's
figurative.
Okay. All right.
The same way you are calling Raila Amolo Odinga Baba. The same way you call Paul Ongili Babowino. The same way you call... Yeah, it's my dad. He's the father of this nation. The father of this nation. So, of course, we owe allegiance by, respecting him and respecting the office. So that's why I call him my dad.
So is using the handouts that we saw, I mean, you can't deny what we saw, and it was to really grand proportions. If it is clear that people will take and make a different, and they've already made a different decision in their head, do you think it is a tool to be used in campaigns?
It ain't a tool, and I don't advocate for that. I don't really advocate for that. But we can't run away from it. I mean, it has been there since time immemorial. It has not started today. It's only that by this time, they have made it publicly, they have made it a norm to happen. So I will say, it will still happen. But again, I really want to remind the people in civic education. I want to remind them, as much as you take those incentives, as much as you take that money, please give us good leaders. The same way you chose a good friend from DCP yesterday. As we go to the next election, please vote for the people who cares for you, not people who just go on sunroofs and say one term and say must go and say what and what. Listen carefully, because if you look at Ol-Kalou, there was no must go or one term. People voted for the person that they really thinks that cares for them. So as we go ahead, for me, I will really ask. Just remind our good opponents to up their game. Tell us what plans do they have for the Kenyans. Apart from one term and all those slogans, what do they have? Because that is what the people will see, not the money or anything.
One would argue that maybe the people actually did see that, but okay, we'll get back into that conversation as we continue. We're looking at the aftermath of Ol-Kalou's decision yesterday and what this pertains to, or rather, amounts to coming into the next year. We'll continue with these conversations. Stay with us. Let's take a quick look, a quick break, and we'll be back after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Traffic. Situation Room, the only day.
UDA also had a party member running for the election. And in this election that you see where your dad, President William Ruto, had a member called Mushina. And we have here reports of how people are being bribed. What is the responsibility then of a party leader? What's the responsibility of your dad in this case, making sure that the party which he presides over, that members within his party do respect the constitution, the electoral laws that your dad, again, President William Ruto, swore to protect and uphold? Or does that not feature in this discussion?
It greatly features here, but you can agree with me that cuts across all parties. It's not only UDA; it also cuts in Jubilee, in DCP, and all the other parties. So my dad did not, swear in as to protect, the UDA party. He is the party leader, but he's so in as the president of the Republic of Kenya.
To protect the constitution of Kenya that has an elections act which stipulates how elections will be held in the country, and him as the figure father, him as the father that sets the stage on how things would be done, should he not call out his children when they make a mistake, when they go out bribing? Because if you look at messages we see here from Mushina by Paul's Master Limited, an investigation that was done by KTN, that is an illegality. So one asks the question, what's his responsibility in making sure that he sets the stage, he sets the example to be followed by, making sure everyone plays by the book?
As far as I'm concerned, I cannot, confirm those are just allegations that people are bribed. People are given money to go and vote for a certain, or a particular individual. Those are just allegations. And if they are true to that cause, then we have an institution that is fully fledged to take action against those people. And the institution is IBC. They could have even, struck out. That's one of the options, to strike out our aspirant or DCP aspirants. Because when you say that we focus only on UDA is the one that was bribing, of which we do not have those facts. Those are just but allegations. So I don't see the need of bringing my dad in this issue, him as a party leader, on this, because those are just allegations. When we have a report, when we have a concluded verdict, or a fully, judgment from the IBC or investigative officers, then now you can now ask him, why is he protecting, why is he not, speaking out about the same? But these are just but allegations.
For the purposes of this conversation, I think so we don't confuse ourselves. Let's refer to him as His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, so we don't get confused.
But once in a while, because I'm used to calling him my dad,
and that is why I said, for the purposes of this conversation, so that we don't confuse people here. Okay?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, so again, let's look at President William Ruto then as leader of government, President William Ruto as the appointing authority to cabinet secretaries. As we know very well, and again, the Elections Act, public servants should not participate in any election or anything around the election. We cannot say that, Angel, that the elections, the campaign process, as we saw in Ol-Kalou, we did not see cabinet secretaries going down there to campaign. And with that, then one asks the question, if we are saying that Ol-Kalou set the precedence for what is to come in 2027, is this allowed to happen when we blatantly break the law that we swore to protect?
Dennis, it's very unfortunate that we see such things happening, and even when we say that the IBC will deliver a free and credible election, we saw what it takes for that to happen. We saw the people of Kenya cannot stay home and wait for the results to be tallied. You have to physically wait you have to kupiga kura na kulinda kura. That's the case we are seeing. I think if anything, for anything to happen in this nation, there has to be a price that has to be paid. And that unfortunately has to be paid by we, the people of Kenya. The other day we saw ordinary citizens being attacked when they're just minding their own business on a busy Saturday morning, and we're getting attacked by goons. And the people of Kenya are asking themselves, must we do everything? Must we be the ones to ensure that there's law and order? We have armed forces that are required, and we pay them to do that. We have institutions and bodies that should ensure that those things don't happen. But now what we have come to see is that if we do not call them out ourselves, like what we saw in Ol-Kalou, a very bold move, stopping police vehicles and checking police vehicles for ballot papers, it is going to take us a lot of initiative as a citizenry to ensure that these things happen. I think it's like we are back to 1963, just after gaining independence and rebuilding the nation, because now the citizen is tasked with so much responsibility. The citizen is the one to vote. The citizen is the one that is supposed to decide what kind of person they're going to vote for. They campaign for that person, and they ensure that that vote is secure, and they also ensure that public officers don't come to campaign. Now that means that there should be boycotting of meetings, like what Gachagua was trying to do yesterday. I mean, if it were not for the consistent interviews that the press conferences that he kept on doing, because there was nobody to check for the Mwananchi. He had to keep doing that. And even a big applause to the media for ensuring that we had consistent airtime on what was happening real time on the ground. Even the media now has to play a very huge role in that. If you're gagged, then you have to go on the streets, because William Ruto is in our WhatsApp group together with Samia Suluhu and Museveni. And he's seeing what they are doing, and he thinks that he can do the same thing here in Kenya. And I think that he needs to leave that WhatsApp group very quickly, because...
Are we speaking imagery here, or are you talking about an actual WhatsApp group?
I'm sure there's an East African WhatsApp group, President's WhatsApp group, where they exchange conversations and update each other on meetings and so what and so not. But he needs to get his mind out of thinking that that mentality of East Africa, where you are armed to the tooth, you don't care what the citizen thinks, you want to gag the media, like what happened in Uganda is going to happen right here, right now, because they're in the same WhatsApp group when they keep telling each other. And we saw Madam Samia Suluhu advising William Ruto, wapige huko ni wapige huku. I mean, it's very nonsensical what we are seeing in 2026, where William Ruto now is being made to think that he can do exactly that to the people of Kenya, and I think that's going to be a very different story, and he needs to get his mind off that East African kind of politics.
Look, I'm still trying to wrap my head around this conversation we are having, because you realize we are not talking about the people of Ol-Kalou. This has been reduced to now the party leaders of now the party that won the CP and the party that primarily lost, the UDA.
Yeah.
Which is rather unfortunate, because at the end of the day, the people who participated were the people of Ol-Kalou. Rightly put, Gachagua was not on the ballot, William Ruto was not on the ballot, Matiang'i was not on the ballot, nor was any other party leader. So I think that's just a statement worth noting, how these by-elections, they turn to a power play and, a political mind game for the would-be party leaders and those who are trying to form political...
I think, Joseph,
yes,
we undermine the power of political parties. I work in a political party, and serving in the National Executive Committee of Jubilee Party, I have seen a lot that speaks to what it means to belong to a political party. Resources that are channeled towards a political party, the UDA regime gets about 500 million shillings every year to run political activities.
But that's because they have the majority in the House. They have the numbers, yeah?
Yeah, so we cannot downplay the fact that political parties will play a very huge role in terms of ensuring who is elected. Because our fathers fought for something in 1992, and it was to ensure multi-party democracy, to ensure that political parties have a say. And even when we are producing a candidate, and now that we are learning as young as we are, is that a political party is extremely crucial. So if anything, political parties have even a bigger mandate of ensuring that they front candidates that are credible and that will serve the people and the interests of the Kenyan people. Because even voting in parliament is not about individuals. It is about party A, party B, coalition A, coalition B. It's extremely crucial that we look at political parties in what they are and the power in which they bring.
I do agree on how essential they are as the vehicles that will drive people into the positions of elective positions. But what I find lacking, and that's what I was alluding to, is that we did not hear an agenda. Like we did not hear season 2 of the plan from the Kenya Kwanza. We did not hear the DCP. If you ask me today, I do not understand what DCP stands for. So you don't hear this pronouncement that you would say the people voted based on this ideology. It is true, there is a growing protest against the current regime. The must-go version keeps on evolving. It could be through the ballot via Ol-Kalou. It could be through the Gen Z 2024 the commemoration. It could be about Sabasaba. It just, every day you realize there is a movement that says we need newness, we need new governance, we need new regime. So that keeps taking different shape and form. But it seems not to improve on the quality of the decisions we make in terms of the people we put in office. The Mbeere North people have an MP. You could pride yourself and say, yes, ODM won some, UDA has won, now DCP has won. But we have not seen any vibrance in the National Assembly. We do not see any improved representation of the people. We don't hear ideologies that we can start saying, despite rejecting William Ruto,
Because they were not founded on ideologies, unfortunately. There are very few political parties in this country that were founded on ideology as they were meant to be. And I think that because we have moved so far left from that original center, that then we are unable to, we can't come in the middle of the game and then say, well, now let's start looking for an ideology and then apply it to a party. If it did not start on that foundation, then it becomes very, very difficult to recenter. It's not like the GPS lady who says reroute after 600 meters. You can't really do that, especially when you've gone so far off and things are not working. Because if you have ideological parties who are saying, for example, let's focus on the economy. Let's ensure that our children are educated because then we can solve things later. Let's make sure that our people are healthy. So we're going to be working on health reforms and welfare reforms. That if we wake up in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., first guess, we say, for sure, I'm part of a party that insists on the welfare of the people. But we don't have that. Today, somebody will say, Omansa talked to me badly and I'm part of the party. You know what? I'm going to the register of political parties. By tomorrow evening, I have my own.
I think Kenya is still a young democracy, I think, in the grand scheme of things. And it's, I can call it 36 years since we started multi-partyism. And these are one of the things that we grapple with, even as a Jubilee party. And we are a party that we've been told so many times, change your name, change your colors, do this, do that. Because, you know, the Kenyan voter wants to see different colors every other time. And this is not for the media or for political parties to blame. I think it requires a very holistic and a coordinated approach to ensure that we are setting out to put in political parties that speak to our issues consistently. But when we have countries like, we're comparing ourselves to the United States that has had over 40 presidents, and we are only on our 5th president, and seemingly things will take shape as we go on. But then at the same time, these are some of the challenges we have as Jubilee Party, trying to ensure that we keep the momentum as we are. The Kenyan people know what to expect from Jubilee Party. The first thing Jubilee Party would do if it got into power is bring back things like Linda Mama, things in terms of education transfer. Those are things that Jubilee Party was known for, and it will continue in that agenda. And that is the vision I see with Uhuru Kenyatta when he tries to tell the people of Kenya, come back to Jubilee Party. Jubilee Party is still here. This is what we stand for. I am retiring and I am leaving the floor for young people. That is a conversation that we have in Jubilee.
But what, 98 votes?
But you see,
what does that mean to you?
To me, it means that the decision for Ol-Kalou residents was bigger than any individual. It was their decision. They made their decision, and they sent a very powerful message to the nation, even to us members of Jubilee Party, whom we thought. Actually, my prediction was 60-40. I was giving the opposition 60% and 40% to UDA, and I think I am ashamed in front of the people of Ol-Kalou to think that they would have made a decision of a 40%, only for them to make it a very decisive decision of 15% actually applauding. Maybe those were Mushina's family members and some UDA delegates, because they actually can't be counted. And they were quite decisive. And when we go on the ground and we talk to the people of Kenya and they tell us, tupatieni mtu mmoja, we are going to decide. That is a very powerful communication. I think we now need to go back to the drawing board as the united opposition or the opposition coalition. And decide as soon as possible now, so that decision that was made in Ol-Kalou was a protest, was a message to the current regime. But now we have to go back to our policy boardrooms and decide what are we going to sell to
because Omonsa, sorry Joe, Omonsa then one asked the question, with the lessons that we have learned with the by-election that stands now, there has to be an agenda, there has to be a strategy that we have to take back to Wananchi for them to say, because UDA got to power and predominantly got a lot of votes from Mount Kenya, Ol-Kalou being one of the areas where UDA got votes. Now that we see it has lost that vote, what is the strategy that will take back to the people so that it is not a protest vote against us, but because the people will vote based off the agenda that is on the table and pick that which resonates with them?
How did we lose Mount Kenya when we won in Mbeere North?
I said lost Ol-Kalou.
Yeah, you mentioned Mount Kenya. That's why I'm asking. So
I said,
we're just talking about Ol-Kalou.
Let me just correct.
Yes.
I said UDA won Mount Kenya in 2022, and Ol-Kalou was one of them, which has lost right now as we speak. So what is the strategy that UDA, you as the president of Gen Z within UDA, is employing so that we do not see a protest vote against the party, but let it be a vote on who has the best agenda on the table? That's my question.
We have to respect the will of the people. And that is what I'm happy about yesterday. Honestly, I'm very, very happy. Before I saw immediately I saw the poster, I was ish about the show because I didn't know the results of the election, But again, after, realizing that my party leader or my leaders in the party, embraced, conceded, and accepted defeat, I thought it is wise also to be here and to appreciate. Sometimes, just look at that election. This is an election whereby, past by election, you realize these political parties, every time we win, the opposition will come and say we are headed to court. We disagree. The institution this, the institution that. But again, for us as UDA party, that's why when we talk about parties, being formed on basis of ideologies, we need also to learn. Even as we are growing, political parties also need to learn. More especially from us as UDA. You saw how we, how we responded to the results yesterday. How many political parties will do that? Most political parties, right now, utawapata wameenda milimani, wameenda high court, wameanza to prepare defense and all that. But for us, we have accepted. And that's what we are asking other political parties as we head to 2027. The same way we did yesterday. Very early, by 7 p.m., 8 p.m., tuliinua mikono tukasema, congratulations. Please, as we head to 2027, pia sisi tukishinda free, fair and square. Tafadhali, fanya kenye tumefanya pia.
Na mkishindwa mtafanya chenye mlifanya.
We will do that, but that's not an option. That's not an option for us. Because we are very sure what we have done as a government and where we are headed to. We know that the people, we are the party, we are the coalition with the best manifesto, with the best agenda. Of course, like you said.
But isn't that the same agenda and manifesto you are selling in Ol-Kalou that was highly rejected?
No, that's an MP. We are not talking an MP. We are talking about the president now for the country. It could be different. Our agenda for Ol-Kalou, that was totally different. Of course, for the some Mushina and all that. But now as we go to the nationally, we realize that we have a manifesto, we have an agenda, and we lay it out sooner or later. And people, I'm very sure, will buy that.
My answer has not yet been answered. My question has not been answered.
Okay, go ahead. Let's ask
Mine
one more
is
time.
very simple.
Yes.
What is the strategy that we are employing of the lessons that we've learned that we will place for the people not to have a protest vote, but a vote based off an agenda that resonates with them?
That's what I've explained. I've told you it first starts with the political party. Start from at the political party. The moment we accept, we are ready to accept those results. That shows maturity. That shows that even the people will be able to, to agree with us. Because when you see a party leader comes and says, no, we disagree with those results, then the people will not even trust the institutions.
So maturity in the acceptance of results is a strategy for how to go
One
ahead?
of the strategies. One of the strategies, of course, one of the strategies. But again, we are going back to the people, to listen to them. Where did we go wrong? What did you really want? Now we will also learn from the other leader. What did he sell? Maybe that's what the people wanted. And then maybe we'll rebrand ourselves and go back to the people.
Okay.
And that is to MP aspirants. But
Is
the
there
president
an
is totally
option
different.
that you get sufficient feedback indicating rejection? You also can decide not to run. The president can decide not to be on the ballot if the people outrightly reject from your seeking feedback.
Sorry?
Is that an option? That as a party, as you try to find out what you need to change, that people outrightly indicate they have rejected William Ruto, can he also decide not to be on the ballot? Is that
it's
an option?
not an option. It's not an option. What will just happen, it will help us, to fill in the gaps where we failed or something.
Okay. Maybe quickly, Angel.
Yes.
The late MP of Ol-Kalou was a Jubilee member. And it was expected that Jubilee would somehow retain this position.
Yes.
So the loss of this, is this a continued attrition of the Jubilee party? Because you remember, build up to 2022, Jubilee lost in most of the by-elections in 2021. And now here we are again. This by-election, as you say, your party leader is trying to woo people back into the party, but they have lost in a stronghold that would be perceived as his backyard. Is it to say that his political command in the region is just wearing off?
Well, I wouldn't be too quick to say that. I think that he slightly earlier, before the death of Mheshimiwa Kiaraho, there was a funeral Uhuru Kenyatta attended in Kirinyaga, and he said he gave his blessing to every political party that was there. And I think by now we know the nature of Uhuru Kenyatta. He is not the kind to micromanage or to try and interfere with the will of the people. And for Ol-Kalou, it was very clear that their decision was based on, it was a contest of showing who is who. And the people wanted to show their might, and they were not battering an eye. And that's something that I have to say we have to go back to the drawing board and restructure and reconfigure our agenda as Jubilee Party, and even as we engage nationally, because Jubilee Party, we have a presidential candidate who comes from Nyanza, and we have an SG who comes from Masailand. We are a national party. I come from Kiambu, and this is a national party. We don't just think about Mount Kenya alone. We are thinking about the entire nation, from coast to Turkana, all over. And as time goes by, I want to encourage members of my generation. I think it is our time. If we come out in large numbers and ensure that our agenda is out there. Even myself, as I contest for the woman rep seat in Kiambu County as a young woman, to be the first young woman elected as a woman rep. I think this is the time, and I would urge every other young person out there to ensure that they register as a voter, to ensure that they run for office, to ensure that you adopt a candidate, adopt a polling station. This is a moment for reckoning for our generation. Let us focus on that.
Indeed. And I think one number to look at is that of the registered voters that came out in Ol-Kalou, just over 50% of them came out. So that's another thing, whereby if you're registering to vote as a Kenyan today, that you need to know that the secret is in the numbers. I want to thank both of you for joining us in this conversation this morning. Angel Bovia is the national chairperson of the Jubilee Youth League, and Omwansa is the UDA Gen Z party leader. Both thank you for being here this morning. Good morning. Our conversations continue. It's 8 a.m.
The latest. This is the Situation Room. The only way